Motivational interviewing, I think, fundamentally is an approach to helping people who are ambivalent about any kind of decision or area of their life, whether it's making a particular kind of change in their substance use or health behavior, but also other kinds of changes in their relationships, changes in how they deal with life in general.
For me, motivational interviewing is about inspiring people to change and respecting people and looking up to them in such a way that they remember to look up to themselves and help enhance their strength and their confidence about making changes to their lives to make them as fulfilling as possible.
Well, the attraction for me as a practitioner working in addiction around motivational interviewing is that it sets a different relationship with the client from the start off. With so many of the other interventions that we might draw on, that we might use, they're often about giving information, they're often about taking people through a particular course of strategies, about helping them develop techniques about managing things that need to change and being able to maintain that change, all of which is good. But what motivational interviewing does, which I think, and it's such a great boon for the practitioner, is that it allows you to develop a relationship with a client whereby you're not the expert. You're not trying to say, I know what's wrong with you and here is the solution. It's a relationship whereby you come together and you're nutting something out as peers, as equals. As I've got something to put in this kitty, you've got something to put into the kitty, into our basket of shared knowledge, and that is what underpins motivational interviewing for me. And it's because you come together as equals in a joint exercise that things can begin to happen. And those things that begin to happen are that the client starts to look more inwards around what are the resources that I've got, what's the understanding I've got about what's going on, what are the skills that I can call on to be able to make some change. And the practitioner kind of almost becomes the secondary player here who nudges this internal problem-solving exercise that goes on.
I think a lot's been made about ambivalence around people not being sure what it is they want to do. But what I've seen a lot is that people often are on the fence not because they don't really know which way they want to go, but because they're frightened and they don't have the confidence to make their lives what they want.
We've learned something about mechanisms of action in motivational interviewing. We know that the clinician's interpersonal skills are important in making MI effective. We know that change talk is likely to be implicated in the effectiveness of motivational interviewing. So those are both good things to know. If you're a clinician just starting out and you're just beginning to use or learn motivational interviewing, you have it way easier than people who first started because we have some roadmaps for you about, like, these are the elements that are really important to pay attention to. So that's an advantage. But what a mistake it would be to think that we actually know why MI really works or that we've got the mechanisms of action for it nailed down. We're just beginning to know a little bit. That's where we really are, is that we know a little tiny bit, and there's so much more to know.
And often sort of clients will come to me where they might feel, rightly or wrongly, but they certainly feel as though they're stuck. There's something kind of not quite working for them. And So the sort of empathic approach, the collaborative approach allows me, or hopefully allows me anyway, to be able to enter their world and to sort of understand it from kind of their perspectives. And if I'm able to do that, if they allow me to do that, of course, through the sort of therapeutic relationship, then maybe we can kind of move through together. So I find that whole aspect really, really helpful.
And I think there are two components really that are equally important for me when I think about how we do that, how MI actually helps people resolve ambivalence. One is that when people are ambivalent about any area of their life, they tend to build a sense of pressure about that decision, about making the decision. Often the pressure comes from outside. People are pushing on them, giving them a hard time, advising them, telling them they need to change this or that. But just as often it comes from inside. We begin to become frustrated with ourselves. Why haven't I done this already? What's wrong with me? What's it ever going to take? Am I ever going to get out of this indecision and this frustrated, uncertain state? And I think as that pressure builds, people become less and less able to work through and resolve the ambivalence. I think it actually contributes to people becoming more and more stuck in a kind of chronically ambivalent state. And I think one part of what MI does is really help to remove that pressure, to help people take the pressure off so that they can begin to think about the decision they're trying to make, the change they're considering, in a way that isn't so affected by that pressure and the pressure that sort of interferes with their ability to think clearly and think in a fresh way about what they want to do. I think given the ability to take the pressure off, the other thing that MI does is really help people tap into their own well of ability to make good decisions for themselves, their own natural inherent motivation to move in a positive direction, for growth, for improved health and well-being. And once people can tap into that and feel supported in doing that, really invited to do that, they're very often able to come to a decision, solve the problem, realize what it is that they want and need to do, and move forward.